Hello, and this is Bill, the knee pain guru, and welcome to this edition of the Ask Dr. Beck, brought to you by the Comella Foundation. Good morning, Charlie. Welcome.
Morning, everyone.
How you doing?
I'm good? In there, man. I'm hanging.
Okay. Good deal. Any what do you got coming up as far as classes go? Classes and things that you're going to be teaching.
This weekend, I'm going to be teaching in Kansas City the Dental Body Connection course.
Dental Body Connection. Okay.
In August, sequencing, and in September, cranial sutures.
September, we're going to get those. How about we get those up on the website? We'll get a page, and we can start. Okay, good. We're gonna. Would you be able to send me a the days and locations for those? This way we can make sure the website's updated.
Yep.
We'll get that taken care of. Okay. Okay. Coming classes. Excellent. Tell us about the class that you're going to be teaching this, the dental. What's the connection?
Dental body connection.
Dental body connection. Can you give like a brief synopsis of how that goes, or what you might?
Well, it is a fascinating course, and basically, I've known for years that there are connections between the teeth and the body. Mm-hmm. There has been a Chinese medicine acupuncture meridian chart out for as long as the internet's been around. I've referred to that chart. Mm-hmm. And I got an dental appliance about 5 years ago, mm-hmm. and I put it in my body, and I realized that it was doing something mechanically. I could bend sideways on one side with the appliance in, but I couldn't go the other. I took the appliance out, and I could bend both ways. Mm-hmm. I put the appliance back in, and I could bend to one side and not the other. And it was repeatable over and over again. And I thought, well, that's not random. That's the appliance. And so it was curious to me at the time. Yes.
Before we get, would you share what an appliance is? So those who may not be.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So braces would be considered a dental appliance.
Okay.
But typically appliances are things that you can put in and take out. The dentist can adjust them and put them back in.
Okay, like a retainer.
Technically, that would be an appliance. Yes.
Okay, got it.
But there are appliances, and all of them are designed to do something. They're designed mostly to move teeth. Okay. And so when I put my appliance in, like I said, I could do this without the appliance. With the appliance in, I could go here. And when I tried to go the other way, I felt like I was up against a brick wall.
So it was limiting your mobility in some way with this appliance.
Correct. And in my body, the mouth was affecting the body.
Okay. And
so being inquisitive, and I'm not recommending that people do this because I'll have to give you the story of why you shouldn't be your own dentist. I started playing with the appliance, trying to figure out how to get my body to be able to move with the appliance in. And so I started adjusting it and promptly broke it. Now, that was relatively easily fixed. The dentist that I was working with, I'd known for years, and, he just kind of shook his head and said, send it to me, I'll get it fixed, and we'll get it back in your mouth. Put it back in, and I had my wife feel my back every time I put this appliance in. And noticed over time that the appliance was affecting certain parts of my back and body. And I would feel around my mouth, and I would try to figure out where the affected area in the teeth was, and started to correlate that to the body. And I'd make very, very tiny adjustments. I learned really quickly that that's all it took, was almost breathing on it. It didn't take much. Mm-hmm. And we put it back in, and my body would be different. Mm-hmm. And we'd adjust the appliance until my body was happy. And very quickly, my posture changed. I went from being kind of slumped forward to sitting up straight, and thought, oh my goodness, this is great. Kept going back to the dentist, having him watch it. He didn't see anything wrong. After a while, though, my teeth moved enough that I had what's called an anterior open bite, where the teeth didn't meet in the front anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now apparently this is very hard for a dentist to correct, so I am not suggesting that you be your own dentist. But we learned a lot in that time period, and my anterior open bite is now corrected. It only took 2 years to correct it. It took about 2 months to create it.
Mm-hmm.
But in the meantime, what we learned is that the teeth affect the body in a way that I've not seen anybody else talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And we realize it's a pattern. And that pattern you can trace on someone's back, doesn't matter who you are. If you have teeth issues, places will show up on your back and the teeth. And so what we've recognized is that it's a way that body workers can communicate with dentists about what's going on, and dentists can listen to their patients and go, oh, you have a problem here? Well, it's probably in your teeth here. And then the dentist can start working with that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how the course came about.
Mm-hmm. Nice. There's several things that popped into my head.
Okay.
Around all of this. One is the football helmet.
Yes.
Was it Sutherland?
Yes.
That he had the pressure things.
It was catcher's mitt.
Was it?
Catcher's mitt of the time, which was basically leather.
Right. So he was moving the cranial bones.
With catcher's mitt and an old school wood clamp. Yes.
Oh my God, that's what he did. It wasn't a football helmet?
Nope.
Oh, okay, catcher's mitt. So for those that are watching, would you go, for those that aren't familiar, actually, would you go over the concept of the cranial bones moving and the whole story of the catcher's mitt? And
Absolutely. So we have to go back to 1899 in Kirksville, Missouri. There was a newspaper reporter, that was his job prior to entering medical school, William Garner Sutherland, and he was going to school at the American School of Osteopathy in Kirksville, Missouri. At the time, it was the only osteopathic school. Andrew Taylor Still was the owner and teacher of the school. Other people were teaching by that time. And they make something called a Bouchain mounted skull. It's also called an exploded skull. And what they do is they take a deceased human being with all the flesh removed, and they separate the bones of the skull, and they place them in space in their three-dimensional relationship, but with a little space between them. So the bones on the top of your head, instead of being together, would be slightly apart. And so it's called a Bouchain mounted skull. And Sutherland, of course, at the time, 1899, people still went out, hunted, fished, because it was how you got your meat most of the time. And so Sutherland noticed that over here on the side of the skull, where the temporal bone meets the parietals, that they joined like the gills of a fish, which suggested motion. Now, at the time, the only people in the world that we're aware of that felt like the bones of the skull moved were the Italians. Their anatomy books suggested that the bones stayed open or patent all the way up to death in most people. The British figured out that the bones fused. Don't ask me how they did that. But we learned our medicine from the British, and so the American medical schools did and still do teach that the bones of the skull fuse. Now, keep in mind that they make a Bouchain mounted skull by literally placing rice or beans inside of the bottom of the skull through the foramen magnum. They basically fill the empty skull with rice or beans, stick it in a bucket of water, and those things swell and the bones come apart. This isn't some fancy way of taking the bones apart. Rice or beans. So they basically don't fuse. That's the bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
Dentists, however, in the United States are taught that in an adult and you and I, the bones are fused and therefore they can push and pull and do things on the teeth. and there are no consequences to the rest of the body, which simply is not true.
Mm-hmm.
And so this course is designed to help educate the dentists on the things that happen in the course of them doing their job that they may not have been aware of.
Yeah, I had that experience with a biological dentist who I was actually shocked. Went to get teeth cleaning a few years ago. Went in wanting to look at something a little bit deeper than just the mere surface of like what I was dealing with the teeth, and what the biological dentist had to show up with in terms of response was, okay, well, we'll give you a couple of crowns, and then we're going to give you one of those mouth guards, bite plates, because you're
Yes.
grinding your teeth. And that was it. And I was like, that's all you got? Like, come on, there's got to be more than that. And
Yes.
he was completely clueless. So I'm interested or excited to hear that you're teaching this type of class that's making that connection with the teeth, with the rest of the body. Now, this class that you're teaching, is that just for practitioners, or is this somebody, a lay person would be able to attend, or how does that work?
The way this course is set up, it's pretty darn intense.
Okay.
And so it is for people who they work inside the mouth. So this would be for dentists and orthodontists, for oral myofunctional therapists, speech language pathologists, dental hygienists.
Mm-hmm.
So basically that team would be working with the mouth and with the appliances that go in them.
Mm-hmm.
And then body workers. So at the moment, I'm kind of limiting it to chiropractors and osteopaths, people who have fairly advanced training, and physical therapists.
Mm-hmm.
There's a potential for opening it up to massage therapists, but I'd have to, again, the course is intense.
Sure.
It's how adjusting eyeglasses affects the teeth. It's how shoes affect the teeth.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a lot covered. And I don't have a course that is set up right now for lay people.
Got it. Well, that's a lot. And you get into a whole nother realm when you're working inside the mouth. There are legal
Yes.
stuff as far as
Yes,
invasive, non-invasive. I learned that this past week with some of the testing that's going on.
Yes.
For virus.
And what happens is that everyone has their scope of practice for their license.
Sure.
So a dentist, for the most part, is limited to the mouth.
Mm-hmm.
They, for example, they can't, a dentist without any other license can't test your feet to see what's going on. It's outside the scope of their practice. It's outside the mouth.
Right.
So a lot of this is setting up this concept that every patient needs a team to be able to get things done.
Mm-hmm.
So I can touch from head to toe. Theoretically, I can do dentistry. It's within the scope of my license.
Mm-hmm.
But a dentist has far more training at it.
Sure.
So it makes more sense, if you were my patient, for me to understand what's going on, explain it to someone who does that job for a living. This is what I think Bill would need.
Right.
And then let you shine at what you do, because we're working together.
Got it. Yeah, that makes total sense. So if this is interesting, because I'd like to understand how maybe we can work through the foundation to put together teams of people to address. So if we were to build a dream team, a body pain relief dream team, it would involve a dentist, an osteopath that specializes in manual manipulation, or someone comparable, or
correct?
Okay.
Now, if we're just talking about the mouth,
okay,
then what we would need is a dentist or orthodontist who understands the concepts of how the mouth moves and how the cranium moves.
Okay.
Which typically is a dentist who would have taken an osteopathic cranial introductory course.
Okay.
Which for most dentists, again, because they learn that the bones of the head fuse, it's a mind-blowing experience.
Sure.
So you got your dentist, then an oromyofunctional therapist who, again, understands what they're doing, understands the bones of the head move, can work with the dentist to cut down the time that it takes for the patient's mouth to get to its end product.
Okay.
So the oromyofunctional therapist helps the tongue and the facial muscles, including the lips, to move the way they're supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
Then to make sure that all of that stuff moves, you need some kind of body worker.
Mm-hmm.
And the more skilled they are, the easier it is on the patient from a time perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And there can be someone who's very skilled in craniosacral therapy and understands how the mouth and the teeth work together, can be an osteopath, chiropractor, physical therapist.
Okay. Would there be anyone else on that team? Because you were talking about the feet, or
after that, it then becomes kind of patient specific.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say that your mouth is the way it is because you have something like Down syndrome, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Then having someone who can coordinate the care, really knows the child to see if they need anything else, behavioral therapy or speech language pathology or something like that, so the team can get bigger,
right,
depending on what the patient needs. But those three categories, a dentist, an oromyofunctional therapist, and some kind of skilled body worker, that's the basics of the team.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like we got those first three: the dentist or orthodontist, oromyofunctional therapist, and then the skilled body worker would be like the stripped down version,
yes,
of the team. And then
exactly
on that,
exactly right,
you would need. Got it. And if we were starting to train people that had the capacity to do any one of those three,
yep.
How long of an uptake do you think the information would be?
Wow. So you would need to have already attained the license that it takes for you to touch someone within one of those professions.
Okay.
Okay. So you've already got to be an osteopath or a dentist to start with.
Okay.
The cranial course would be the minimum required for your osteopath or dentist, because then they can share the same language.
Mm-hmm.
The speech language pathologist or dental hygienist would have to have the oromyofunctional therapy course. That again gives them the language.
Mm-hmm.
Theoretically, the dentist would also have to have the oromyofunctional therapy course. Again, so we're all talking the same language. Sure. We haven't even started to combine what we can do for the patient yet, but this is just background training. So out of the office, the cranial course is a week long, so it's 40 hours. Mm-hmm. The oromyofunctional therapy course, if I remember correctly, is 24 hours. So it's a very intense long weekend. Mm-hmm. I can't remember if the course was 3 days or 4 days, but anyway, so there's a week's worth of training to get your background. Mm-hmm. The more training that is shared between the team, the more language that we can use to converse about the patient. Mm-hmm. Once that's all done, then the dentist has to understand osteopathy. Now, a 40-hour course is not going to do that. Mm-hmm. So the dentist has to start working with the osteopath, and getting treated would be probably the easiest way to start, So the dentist understands that, oh, you can, for example, move something in the head and something in the foot or the back will change, right? So you get this concept that it's all together. Same way with the oromyofunctional therapist, because in a perfect world, the osteopath is the quarterback. And it's interesting because I can put my fingers on teeth and I can move them a tiny bit, but I'm not going to be able to do anything like what a dentist does. So I need the dentist to get the patient where the patient's body needs to be. The problem is the dentist isn't legally allowed to feel the whole body. So the dentist can't get the same picture that the quarterback does. Same way with the oromyofunctional therapist. They can do things that, yes, I could do, but it would take a lot more of my time. And they do it for a living. They're better at it. And yet they can't feel the body the way that I can to, again, be the guide for what the patient needs.
Right.
So what you then need to do is set up a team that works together for the patient's best interest. So that everybody's looking at patient outcomes and doing their best to set their egos aside. That's the hard part about setting up a team. You got to have people that are close enough together to be able to communicate, and the patient can go back and forth between them. You know, in the absolute most perfect world, they'd all be in the same building. It's doable if they're in the same town. My closest dentist that I can work with is 4 hours away.
Wow.
So we make it work, but there's nobody where I live that has the knowledge and is willing to work with patients the way that I do.
And is it really an ego thing? Is it more of a financial thing? Like there's no financial interest to have the ego out of the way to be able to work with clients that way?
Well, I'm going to say there's a little of both.
Okay.
And there's some medical legal things in it as well. So some of it for dentists is a leap of faith, because what we suggest happens to the body may not go completely against, but it may be something different than what they learned in dental school. So you have to be willing to work with a patient or two up front and learn how that patient changes before you get the confidence to then be able to apply it to others. Okay.
Got it.
That's step number one. Step number two is oromyofunctional therapists, at least the ones that I've met, charge by the visit. I charge by the visit. The dentist charges for the whole process. So if you're going to get braces, for example, there is the cost. The dentist looks at it and says, it's going to take me this long. Here's the cost. And if it takes longer, your cost doesn't go up. If it takes less time, the dentist makes basically more money per hour because it took less time.
Right.
This whole process of working with a team, going slowly and allowing the body to change at its speed and no one else's speed, it takes more time. From the patient standpoint, it takes more money. At the end of the day, if you compare someone who went through this team approach with someone who didn't, the mouth might look almost exactly the same. So from a cosmetic standpoint, it could be almost exactly the same outcome. But from an overall body standpoint, from a health standpoint, it is far better to go through the team approach.
Got it. Has there been anything you've kicked around in your head as far as a financial model that could potentially work? Like let's say a team had only so many clients or patients that they could see, and it was a consistent, almost like an insurance. They're paying so much per month, let's say, to the team? I'm just,
Yeah.
this is spitballing. I don't have any.
Yeah, the answer to your question is no.
Okay.
I have not figured out a way yet so that the practitioners involved are not donating a significant amount of their time.
Yeah, and that goes into getting a little bit into more of outside of the conventional exchange of
Correct.
money for time and things like that, and how do uh, some people need help and they're super appreciative, will put in the work, and other people need the help and they're not willing to put in the work to change. So there needs to be some sort of
Correct
energy exchange equation that needs to be entered into the conversation.
Right.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that works. It's something that's ongoing because I've had tons of people that have reached out to me. And it's like, well, if you got such a great program, why don't you give it away for free and let people donate? I'm like, not yet.
Yeah.
Because there's time, energy, and effort to explain what I've spent the past 20 years figuring out to put together to share with people. And I'm not willing to do that for people who aren't willing to put in the effort for them to get better.
Absolutely.
So anyhow, it's a conversation. So I get it. Let's see. Well, I'm excited about getting those. I saw you sent over the link. I'll get those classes up on the website so we could start promoting your future upcoming classes. So that'll be good. And we'll get that form set up this week so people can submit questions directly where we could see those. I had let's see. There's a couple of people that wrote in. This was building on last week's where we were doing the release for the psoas, pillows underneath the knees, relaxing the tension in the lower back. Megan replied, hello, I'm going to try this at home. I want to try the couch method, but had a question. Do you lay on the floor and put your legs up on the couch, or are you laying on the couch? Thanks. And
wow. I would say, first of all, it depends on the size of your pocketbook and the size of your couch. What the simplest way? Yes, if you have some huge couch that's almost a bed, you might be able to lay on the couch. But for most of us, it's lay on the floor. Then the height of the couch when you put your legs up is almost the height of your knees. And then what you can do to fine tune it is scoot your butt closer to the couch or further away.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got a couch where your whole body will fit on it and you could put your legs up over the back of the couch and it's also big, you could do it that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and comfortable. As long as it's comfortable.
That's right. As long as it's comfortable.
Yeah. Okay. And Ale writes, hello, Bill. I just tried this simple exercise for lower back pain. I laid down on the floor with pillows for 5 minutes, set the timer, and focused on my breathing. After a few minutes, the sharp pain started going away. I was able to stand up without the feeling of breaking my back and started making breakfast for my daughter. I'll continue with this amazing exercise. So glad I found your video. Thank you so much. So this is the same. I'll put the link to this video in the show notes.
Okay.
As well. It seems to be a crowd pleaser.
Okay.
So, and those were the questions that came in from last week, or comments on the website. Let me double check if there is any. Oh, I did get one here. This was regarding a local osteopath.
Okay.
Bill, do you know of a local DO who practices osteopathic manipulation? And I was curious if there was a website that contained that information. that we can put in the show notes here?
Yes, absolutely. There are two, actually. The first one is the Cranial Academy, and the technical name is the Osteopathic Cranial Academy, but their website is cranialacademy.com. They have Find a Physician page on the website.
Okay.
And you type in your city and state or your zip code and how far you're willing to drive, and they'll show you who's in the area.
Okay.
The American Academy of Osteopathy also has a Find a Physician page.
Academy of Osteopathy. And I'll put this in the show notes as well.
Okay.
I'll put this in there. I'll do
both those websites are folks that are going to do manipulation.
Manual manipulation.
Yep.
And that, let me see. Those are everything that came in from last week. Wait, hold on. One more.
Okay.
Your video is a little confusing in terms of how to do it with the couch. Thankfully, another commenter clarified. You're supposed to lie on the floor with your calves on the couch. Yes? Yes. I've been having lower back pain nearly every day for over a month now. Usually when that happens, my chiropractor helps and it disappears for a very long time. I currently have no time to go see him, so I looked for an alternate help and found your video. Here's my experience. It hurt lying down, the action of lying down, and then there was relief. Although about midway through the 5 minutes of burning pain returned for a few seconds. Upon getting up, it seemed slightly better, and now sitting on my chair at my desk again is slightly better. I will keep trying this and see if it can eventually give me stronger relief and more permanent relief, since the pain is returning some as I write this. Could you speak to a little bit about the burning that happened for a short period of time when he's lying in the position of comfort, and how come the relief was only not as much, and then
Yes.
it started coming back? Could you explain, kind of talk to what the body's doing when that's happening?
So the way that we learn it is that, and I'm going to try to keep it very, very simple. When you get injured, whatever an injury looks like, the muscles will tense up in order to help protect the body.
Mm-hmm.
When we are setting the body up for this release, we're basically trying to relax the muscle. But in the brain, the muscles have tensed for a reason. And so the brain wants to keep saying, oh, no, we're supposed to be tense. Oh, no, we're supposed to be tense. There will come some point during the treatment that you will again reach a point of almost maximal tension before the body says, well, maybe I'm not as injured as I thought I was going to be, and so I can relax the muscle. And that's what the patient is, or this client is explaining. So the muscle was tight, the muscle got tighter. That was their sharp pain. Then the muscle relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's interesting is there are a great number of things that can contribute to low back pain. Okay, so we can go from, and to me, it's like a pendulum. It could be a tight muscle. The other side of the pendulum is it could be cancer. So as a physician, it's my job to hopefully be able to narrow it down to what it could be. And if it's musculoskeletal, which is mostly what we're working with here, you can have the feet and legs involved, you can have the hip involved, you can have the sacrum involved, you can have the low back involved. The rib cage can be involved in low back pain.
Mm-hmm.
Each of those require a different setup to be able to release. And it's very hard living in your own body, even for me as an osteopath, to figure out where things are stuck. It's hard for me to treat myself, even though I've got the knowledge of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
It is actually easy for me to guide someone else to treat me, because when they put their hands on me, my body says, oh yeah, it's stuck over there. But again, hard to do and hard to teach that over video.
Sure.
My suspicion with the person that wrote in the question is that they were able to release the psoas, but the psoas wasn't the only thing contributing to the back pain.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it got better, but didn't go away.
Mm-hmm.
So what would be good is if they were able to describe what's going on with their current back pain, like where it's at, when it occurs, what makes it better, what makes it worse, how long does it last, how sharp is it, anything that's going to help us narrow it down. And then we can guide them to how to help that part.
Got it. Well, that makes total sense. Okay. Well, those were all the questions that came in.
All right.
Anything else? Any parting words you'd like to share with everyone?
Not much that I can think of at the moment.
Okay.
Have a great day.
Well, perfect. Well, thank you. Thank you, Charlie. Appreciate you so much. This is highly enlightening for myself as well. I enjoy it's like, I want to hear your perspective on these situations and all that. But you're going to have the dental class this weekend.
Yep.
And have a great time with that.
Thank you.
Teach lots. And if there's anybody in that class that may be a good fit for me to interview for the Pain Education podcast, please put them in touch.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Sure.
I'd love to be able to interview them. And we got tons of stuff going. We got the pain relief portal where we're having Jeannie Anderson muscle testing for the people that I have interviewed, so she can refer people directly to work with those practitioners off of the website.
Yep.
We have the Pain Education podcast. We're doing those once a week. So, if you or anybody who's watching who would like to refer someone who believes it'd be a good fit for me to interview, ask questions on, we'll put that up on the podcast portion of the website. And then we have you on Wednesdays to ask Dr. Beck. We're going to be getting to submit questions. And this is all, once again, brought to you by the Comella Foundation, where we're helping people relieve pain using osteopathic principles.
Cool.
So, okay, Charlie, thank you so much. Have a great week. And we'll talk to you next week.
Sounds great.
Okay. Bye-bye.